If you ever get invited to the abandoned mine on Labor Day, don't go. I don't care if it's your best friends daring you or some town tradition dressed up as fun. I don't care if you think it's just an old legend. I thought the same thing. I laughed when they said the mine had its own heartbeat, that sometimes you could hear it breathing if you pressed your ear against the stone. I went along with the jokes, the nervous laughter, the stupid bets, and now I can't unhear it, that sound in the dark. The slow inhale, the long, wet exhale, coming from somewhere deeper than the earth itself. I should have turned back the moment I felt the air shift, when the tunnels swallowed our flashlight beams like they were nothing. But we didn't, we thought. We were brave. We thought the stories were just stories. I remember the last clear thing I saw, my friend's wide eyes catching the light, his mouth open like he wanted to scream but never got the chance, then blackness, then the sound of breathing. Not his doubt. People always ask me why I don't talk about what happened that night. The truth is, not everyone made it out of the mine. And the ones who did, well, let's just say we didn't come back alone. So here's my warning. Don't go looking for the whisper in the mine. Because once you hear it, it never stops. Labor Day weekend in our town was always the same. Nothing to do, nowhere to go. We weren't beach kids, we weren't city kids. We were stuck in that in-between kind of place, where your whole world is the diner off Main Street, the gas station parking lot, and whatever half-dead party someone manages to throw in their parents' garage. That night, it was me, Ryan, and Jess crammed into our usual booth at Miller's Diner, greasy fries between us, endless refills of soda we pretended were cocktails. Ryan was scrolling through his phone, complaining about his summer job like he was 40 years deep into a career. Jess was making fun of him, tossing napkin balls across the table like she was 12 again. We talked about school, about who was hooking up with who, about how unfair it was that Labor Day was supposed to celebrate workers, but just left us bored in our dead-end town. Then Ryan said it. You know what we should do? The mine? Jess rolled her eyes. Oh, come on, that cursed mine crap. Really? Ryan grinned. What else do we have? It's Labor Day tradition, right? We sneak out, take some flashlights, see if the ghosts want to clock in for overtime. I laughed with them, because that's what you do. You laugh, you brush it off. You make it sound like a stupid dare instead of a decision. I wish we had just stayed at the diner, but we didn't. We got up, split the bill, and walked out into the night, joking about curses we didn't believe in. And that's where everything started to go wrong. It started as a joke. The way these things always do. By the time we left the diner, Ryan was already playing ringleader. Come on, Jess, he said, bouncing the keys to his beat-up Honda in his hand. You're always bragging about being fearless. What's scarier than the mine? Jess smirked. Scarier than your driving? Easy. They bickered back and forth, but I could feel it, this weird momentum building, like we were already locked into something bigger than ourselves. Labor Day, nothing to do, and a legend just waiting for idiots like us. They say people went missing there, Jess said, half mocking, half testing if we'd flinch. Yeah, like 100 years ago, Ryan shot back. Probably some drunk. Miners who got lost will be fine. Besides, he leaned closer, grinning, we'll be the first ones to make it back. That line stuck with me, the first ones to make it back. Like it was some kind of challenge. The drive out was quiet. At first, I remember looking out the window as the town gave way to the tree line. The air felt heavier somehow. At the start of the trail, I spotted something odd: two dead crows lying side by side, wings stiff, eyes glassy white. Jess noticed too, but brushed it off. Nature's gross, big deal. But it wasn't just that. A little further up, carved, Into the rocks along the trail, I saw crude symbol circles, spirals, jagged lines that didn't look like kids messing around. Ryan just laughed when I pointed it out. Local art adds to the vibe, we laughed with him. But I couldn't shake the thought that someone or something had left those marks as a warning, and like idiots, we kept walking anyway. The mine looked like a mouth waiting to swallow us. Rusted iron gates sagged on broken hinges. One half collapsed against the dirt as if it had finally given up trying to hold anything back. We stood there in a half circle, staring at the yawning blackness that stretched beyond. The warm September night carried crickets and the faint buzz of cicadas. But the moment I stepped closer, all of it went silent, like someone had pressed mute on the world. Creepy, but manageable, Ryan said, trying to sound casual as he kicked the gate aside. His voice carried too far, bouncing back in a way that made it sound like someone else had said the words. The air changed the second we crossed the threshold. One step, we were in the sticky, late summer heat. The next, our skin prickled with a draft so cold it felt unnatural, like stepping into a freezer. I rubbed my arms, shivering, though the others laughed it off. Jess pulled out her phone, thumb hovering over the flashlight icon. All right, adventurers, let's do this. A weak beam cut into the dark, followed by ours. For a moment, it was comforting, 4 shaky circles of light bobbing along the stone walls. Then Ryan's light sputtered. Just a faint flicker then. Steady again. He cursed and smacked the side of his phone. Mine too, Jess muttered. She shook her phone, but the beam stuttered like a dying candle. One by one, each of our lights wavered. Battery's fine, I said, tapping my screen. It's something else. We all went quiet then. That's when I heard it. At first, I thought it was the draft whistling through the tunnel. But no, this was different. A low, breathy murmur, like words spoken just out of reach. I turned, certain one of my friends had whispered something. Their faces said otherwise. I swear I heard. Jess trailed off, her voice cracking. None of us admitted what we all felt, that we should have turned back. That the gate wasn't just broken. It was waiting, and once we stepped inside, the mine wasn't going to let us leave. The further we went, the more the mine seemed to close around us. The ceiling dipped lower, the walls slick with damp, and the smell was like rust mixed with wet soil. Every breath tasted metallic, like I'd bitten down on a mouthful of coins. My boots crunched over gravel and broken wood, each step too loud in the silence. Jess tried to keep spirits up. Looks like Silent Hill down here, she said, forcing a laugh. It echoed too long, too sharp, until it felt like the mine itself was laughing back. We found graffiti scrawled across the stone. Neon greens and reds popped unnaturally in our flashlight beams, like the paint was still wet. One tag read, "Get out," another smeared along the wall. Looked like symbols none of us recognized. Loops and jagged slashes that seemed to move when I blinked. This place has been shut down for 40 years, I muttered. How the hell is this fresh? Ryan brushed his hand over one, then jerked back. It's warm. His voice cracked, and for the first time, he didn't sound cocky. That's when we heard it. A sound, faint at first like metal striking stone, rhythmic. Clang, 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 clang. It came from deeper in, steady as a heartbeat. Nope, Jess whispered, her phone trembling in her grip. Nope, nope, nope. Maybe old supports falling? Ryan offered, but even he didn't sound convinced. I swallowed hard, listening. The rhythm shifted, softer now, rasping, like breathing. Long, slow inhales that weren't ours. We huddled closer, our jokes drying into uneasy silence. Every crunch of our boots felt watched, every breath borrowed. Finally, Maddie whispered the thought none of us wanted to say aloud. It feels like we're being counted. And as the sound echoed back at us, steady and deliberate, I knew she was right. The tunnels forked suddenly, one path sloping downward, the other veering sharply left. Our lights swept across rotting support beams and piles of collapsed stone. The air thicker here, heavier, like the mine didn't want us to decide. We're wasting time, Ryan said, pushing past me. We'll cover more ground if we split. Up. That's literally how every horror movie starts, Jess muttered. Hugging her arms tight, Maddie tried to sound calm, but her voice wavered. We'll stay within shouting distance, okay? No big deal. It wasn't okay, but no one wanted to be the coward who said, let's go back. Against every instinct clawing at me, I nodded. Ryan and Jess took the downward tunnel, their laughter echoing unnaturally against the stone, bouncing back at us warped. The rest of us, Maddie, Kyle, and me, turned left, our lights slicing weakly into the dark. For a moment, I could still see their beams dancing faintly through cracks in the stone. Then, like someone had blown out a candle, their light winked out too fast, too sudden. Did they turn it off? Kyle whispered. His voice shook before I could answer. The mine filled with a sound I'll never forget. A scream, a high, sharp roar ripped from Ryan's throat. It tore through the tunnels, echoing so violently it felt like the walls themselves screamed back at us. Then silence, a silence so complete I swear I could hear my own heart breaking. We bolted toward the scream, our footsteps slamming against stone, breaths ragged in the suffocating dark. Every second stretched thin, like the mine itself was holding us back. Ryan! Jess! Maddie's voice cracked, swallowed by the tunnels. We reached the junction where the paths met again, empty, just stone. Dust and the faint glow of something lying on the ground. Ryan's phone. It was still on. The screen fractured, voice memo app recording. Maddie bent to pick it up, her hands trembling. Maybe it caught, maybe they ran. She hit play. At first, nothing but static, the low thrum of our own panicked footsteps. Then whispers. Not one voice. Not two. Dozens, layered, overlapping, sliding over each other like snakes, and through the noise, a word. My name. Clear, direct, repeated. Kyle swore under his breath and backed away. That's not possible. No one knows where, but the recording continued, the whispers growing louder, closer, until it didn't sound like they came from the phone anymore. They slithered through the tunnels, brushing against my ears, curling into my skull. Maddie stopped the playback with shaking fingers, and the silence that followed felt worse than the whispers themselves. The three of us stood frozen, waiting, listening, too afraid to even breathe. I should have left then. We all should have, but the mine wouldn't let me. The air shifted before I saw it. Heavy, pressing, like the oxygen had been siphoned out of the tunnels. My flashlight beam caught the faint outline of something moving just beyond the jagged walls. Not a person. Not exactly. At first, it walked like one of the old miners I'd seen in photographs at the library, bent forward, shoulders hunched, dragging one leg behind the other. But every movement stuttered, as if the body was folding and unfolding wrong. Like a marionette with tangled strings, I lifted the light higher, and that's when I saw them. Eyes, not glowing bright, but faint, like embers hidden beneath coal. They didn't blink. They just watched. And then, God, I'll never forget it. It spoke, but it didn't use its own voice. The sound was wet, broken, but it carried Jess's tone. My stomach turned to ice. Maddie. This time it was Ryan's. Cadence, almost teasing, like he used to when we argued about directions. The thing kept shifting voices, like trying them on for size, like it had collected them. Each syllable scraped against the walls until it felt like the mine itself was speaking. I wanted to scream, to run, But my legs locked when the words formed into something new, something that didn't belong to anyone I knew. The work, it rasped, voice layered with all the others, never ends. Maddie sobbed softly beside me, and Kyle muttered a prayer. Though the words shook, I told myself maybe it was a trick, some echo, some hallucination, but the way it tilted its head at me, like it knew, told me otherwise. You'll see what I mean when I play you the recording. We didn't wait. Maddie grabbed my arm and we bolted into the dark, boots striking against gravel and rotten beams. The tunnels stretched on, splitting like veins, but no matter which way we turned, the air pressed in the same. Left, go left, I shouted, but when we rounded the corner, my stomach dropped. It was the same pile of rusted rails we'd passed before. We hadn't gone anywhere. Again, Maddie whispered, breathless. Try again, we ran, right this time. Then down a slope that felt like it should have led deeper. But when we stumbled into the next chamber, my chest caved in. The same spot. The same gouges in the wall. The same discarded helmet with the cracked visor. We were trapped in a loop, the mind folding back on itself like it didn't want us to. Leave. Then dash darkness. My flashlight fizzled and died, leaving only the damp black pressing against my skin. Maddie's light sputtered once, twice, then went out too. We froze, gasping in the suffocating silence, and then a glow appeared ahead, dim, golden, the kind of light no phone or flashlight could make. It was a lantern. An old, dented miner's lantern, swaying gently as if someone were carrying it. We staggered closer, desperate for anything but the dark until the light lifted just enough to show the face behind it. I swear my knees nearly gave out because I knew that face. Pale, dirt-streaked, eyes hollow but familiar. It was Ryan. The same Ryan who had screamed and vanished into the tunnels, and he was smiling. I won't tell you how we got out. Not yet. Some things you're better off not knowing. When I opened my eyes, the sky was blinding, blue, too normal, too calm. I was lying in the dust just outside the mine entrance, the same rusted gate yawning behind me like nothing had happened. Birds chirped somewhere in the trees, and the hum of cicadas filled the air. For a moment, I almost convinced myself it had been a nightmare. But the ache in my legs, the bruises on my arms, the raw sting of my throat told me it was all too real, and my friends were gone. No Maddie. No Ryan, no laughter echoing through the tunnels. Just silence. By the time I staggered back into town, the story had already twisted. People rolled their eyes, muttering about kids pulling stunts on Labor Day weekend, about another mine prank. No one wanted to hear about the screams or the whispers or the face carrying that lantern, but I have proof, because when I pulled out my phone, it was still recording. Hours of static, echoes, and something else, something breathing between. The silence. Sometimes at night when I can't sleep, I replay it. The whispers are clearer now than they were that night. They say my name. Over and over. I shouldn't keep it, but I can't bring myself to delete it. And here's the worst part: if you're listening to this story, if you're even hearing these words, it may already be too late. If you've made it this far, then listen carefully, because I'm only going to say this once. Don't go near that mine. Not on Labor Day. Not ever. Don't let anyone dare you. Don't let curiosity eat at you. And if some voice in the dark starts whispering your name, turn around. Walk away, because once you step inside, it's already too late. The air down there doesn't just fill your lungs, it claims you and the thing waiting in the tunnels. It never stops working. If you find an old phone recording in the dirt, don't play it. If you hear a story about the cursed mine from someone in town, don't ask questions. And if you think this is just another urban legend, go ahead, laugh. That's what my friends did. You can drop your thoughts below. Would you have gone inside? Have you heard about cursed places in your town? Maybe you even know other mines, other tunnels where the same thing is happening. I'll be reading. I always read, but before you click away, remember this. Stories like these don't just live on YouTube. They follow you home. They whisper in your sleep. And sometimes they use voices you trust. So if you hear someone calling your name tonight, whether it's from the woods, from your phone, or from the walls of your own house, don't answer, because it's still down there, still digging, still working the night shift.